So look at the probability of no stock out. We're measuring the inventory shortages. So our actual K, or that safety factor, depends on our distribution of demand and lead time. So how long it take for stuff to get to us, and how much does that fluctuate. So if we assume a normal distribution, then we can use a normal distribution probability table from our textbook. So then we look for a 95% availability possible, which corresponds with a K value of 1.65. So we would use a table to get that factor calculation. So therefore, we want a safety stock of 168 units. Okay? So then if we have our total inventory, we have an quantity of 200, which means that our base stock should always be 100, and our safety stock is 268. So we want to maintain a constant inventory of 268 units. Measures of customer service. So fill rate is another method. So if the fill rate is the expected percentage of units filled from stock in a lead time. So then we look at the function of K that provides the area to the right of K in a normal distribution, what our fill rate is, and our combined standard deviation of demand and lead time, and our economic order quantity. So if we look at this 95% fill rate availability possibility, so we then get a K equal to, so if we have 0.92 here, so we get safety stock of 94. So you can see how the different K values give you different information. So we have the same inventory availability possibility of 95% leads to different corresponding values of safety stock. So a 95% probability of no stock out policy is 168, and for a fill rate policy is 94. So probability of no stock out always requires more safety stock, because we want to make sure that we always have enough of a buffer that regardless of demand, regardless of changes in lead time, we never run out of stock. When we talk about safety stock and management of safety stock, we can look at these different ways to calculate that. So starting with the sales forecast. Okay? Safety stock is a function of uncertainty. If we trust our sales forecast, then we don't have a high level of uncertainty. So the more that we trust our forecast, the less uncertainty that we have, and so the less safety stock needed. If we have promotions or sales or other things that could impact demand, that gets incorporated into the sales forecast, which means that we're planning for it. So this means that we're planning to have excess stock ahead of those items, and we don't need to be as concerned about maintaining safety stock. So when we look at the sales forecast, then we're going to look for, so we have our average replenishment time, our lead time in days. That's how long does it take our product to get from our supplier to us, the standard deviation of the sales forecast error, our average daily demand, and then the standard deviation of replenishment time. Okay. So if our sales forecast, unless our sales forecast error is very large and biased, that standard deviation of the forecast error will always be a smaller number. So if we use the sales forecast, that will result in a 15% smaller safety stock for the same level of inventory availability. Another way that we can manage safety stock is the portfolio effect. So the relationship between the level of inventory needed and the amount of inventory available and the number of locations where inventory is stored. The more locations we have, the more inventory that we need. The fewer locations or warehouses that we have, the less inventory that we need. So it's the portfolio of locations, geographic regions that we're looking at. So it quantifies the percent decrease in safety stock that is achieved with inventory centralization. Okay? So it depends on the relative sizes of sales in different locations and how correlated these sales are. And then form postponement. So with form postponement, we believe that demand uncertainty can be managed by delaying a product's final form until the exact nature of the demand is known. Okay, so that for that example, this is a just-in-time measure. Okay, so like paint, we keep just bases for paint, and we only mix a specific color when the customer asks us to. That way we don't have to try to maintain a certain amount of every single color. So the greater number of variations that a product is sold, the greater the inventory requirement. So if we have paint that could potentially be made into 500 colors, we would have to have 500 different colors of paint on hand. Where if we just maintain a base coat that we can make into any color right there for the customer, then we only have to maintain however many bases that we need. Okay? So then we don't have to maintain separate inventory for each product variation. So instead, we keep a smaller inventory of our common product and then only complete the customization when the customer orders it. There are 4 different types of form postponement. Okay? So looking at labeling postponement, packaging postponement, assembly postponement, and manufacturing postponement. Okay? So the different type ways that we can customize items and how long we can postpone a product's final form. Different methods of inventory control are looking at perpetual versus periodic review. So perpetual review is when inventory is checked continuously after each transaction. Companies that are using perpetual review for inventory management are scanning UPC codes. So we scan a code when we receive inventory, and then when the customer pays for inventory and purchase it, when we scan it at the point of sale, it's removed from our inventory. So the inventory is continuous. We have continuous. When we get to the reorder point, so that is when the inventory reaches a level where we have designated the reorder point. Okay, so this is our average daily demand times our average replenishment lead time plus our safety stock. Okay, so that reorder point is where we decide that we need to order our next quantity. So for example, if we have average daily demand of 3, so we sell 3 things a day, and our lead time is 5 days. So we always need to have 15 on hand to make our demand. So 3 times 5, which is 15, because it's going to take us 5 days to get our delivery. And then any additional safety stock that we want to have in hand. So every time we would order when we get down to a certain point. So if we know that we always want to have 15 on hand because it takes 5 days, then as soon as we hit that we only have 15 left in our inventory, a new order gets placed. So then we determine 15 as our reorder point. If we say that we have 15 plus our safety stock of 5, then our reorder point is 20. So as soon as we reach 20, we're going to generate the next order to guarantee that our next order comes before we run out. Okay, so continuously check. Um, a periodic system, which is the opposite system of a perpetual system, periodic systems are done manually. Okay? So this means that periodically we walk through our inventory and we count it by hand to see how much we have on stock. And so it's not a continuous update like we do with the UPC code. Okay? Our reorder point is different when we're doing periodic review because we must hold extra inventory to cover the fact that we're physically counting inventory. When we look at periodic review, we add in the number of review days to our time or to our lead time. Okay. The periodic method, periodic review, results in higher inventory levels because of the time that we're counting inventory by hand. And then finally, at the end of this chapter, what are symptoms of poor inventory management? So some symptoms of poor inventory management are, one is high inventory levels. So we have warehouses that are stuffed. All our shelves are full. We have full warehouses. Or the opposite of that, we're running out of stuff all the time. We can't keep products in stock. We're not ordering often enough, and customers are always unhappy with us. Okay? A growing frequency of inventory transfers between units in the same firm. So when we think about, Hy-Vee. So there's a Hy-Vee in Waverly, there's a Hy-Vee in Waterloo, and there's a Hy-Vee in Cedar Falls. If the Hy-Vee in Waverly runs out of something, they can call Waterloo and Cedar Falls and ask for an inventory transfer until their next delivery happens. If that becomes a regular basis, it's because one of the stores is not managing their inventory well. Frequent sales to reduce inventory. So that's a symptom of high inventory levels. Our warehouses are full, we have too much stock on hand, and so we need to have a sale to get rid of it. We can't find anything. We have so much inventory that we keep losing things. And we can't find things, we have stuff stacked all over the place, or we don't have a good system for storing inventory. That can also be poor inventory management. Not that we don't have enough on hand, but that every time it gets put away, it gets put somewhere else. We don't have a consistent system for where it is, and so people have to hunt for it. We have suppliers with long or unreliable delivery times. So we can't trust our suppliers to get stuff to us on time. So we can't develop any kind of consistency. So we need to find new suppliers if we're going to manage our inventory well. We make purchases based on quantity discount. So if we only need 5 of an item, we shouldn't order 20 just to get a discount. Same thing. If we need 500 of something, we shouldn't order 1,000 just to get the discount. The purchases based on quantity discount then helps facilitate those high inventory levels, which forces us to have frequent sales to reduce inventory levels. And then production planning based on batch sizes. So this is similar to that quantity discount. We need to produce 20 to meet demand, but it's cheaper if we produce 100. And so we're just going to produce 100 whether people want them or not. This causes high inventory levels and frequent stockouts. And that is the end of chapter 4.